Hello. Well, hello, all of you Geeks Assembled watchers and listeners. I'm Susan. Over there's Lee. Today we're discussing on our audio heads portion of our podcast a uh, a BBC radio adaptation of Turnbull's novel about Glasgow. He's a Glaswegian, I think, and so I think he wrote this. And this one's called the P Division, and
Uh-huh.
it's a good mystery, and um yeah. So I think it's four parts, and I think it was like a couple hours long, and it's pretty procedural. Let's just say that much. I'm just gonna send it over to Lee for his opening thoughts, and then I'll give my take on it in just a second. Over to you, Lee.
Right. Yeah, P Division two-way cut because there is several um different stories from the P Division, and this is called two-way cut. Um, yeah, it's Glaswegian, Glasgow. Uh, um, it's about a corpse found, which has been beheaded with its head placed firmly on the corpse's chest. The corpse has been cleaned. There's no sign of blood anywhere. So that's the start of the mystery for this police force. Um, yeah, I did. Right, I did struggle with this because Glaswegian is a is a very hard dialect to follow very closely.
Oh,
Uh, um, when the TV series Taggart was on,
uh-huh.
I always struggled trying to understand what the actors were saying
Oh,
because of the Glaswegian accent is so. I mean, we've got a friend, haven't we, from Glasgow who is very. Sometimes you can hardly understand what he says.
yeah. Our
Graham,
our friend, our yeah. Go ahead.
and so yeah, I did find myself really just listening and listening, trying to catch everything they said because there is that much of the Glaswegian accent in this. It is sometimes hard to understand what they're saying, but they've done it that way because it's set in Glasgow. They need it realistic, so they had to have the accent. So good on them for doing it. I did follow it, but it was just this, some of the dialogue you had to. What was that? Um, but yeah, it's just a murder mystery done by the police force in four parts. We know why Susan picked this because
Mm.
there's a certain actor in it who really only appears in episode two, really. Um,
Well, yeah, but he's a good constable. That's for dang sure.
yeah, so Mr. Robert Carlyle, of course, playing was it King, Constable King.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it was all right. I didn't guess who did it by the end. Well, I didn't, because you're thinking who's done it. They're interviewing these people. Um, who's done it? Um, you had you had the you had the serious. I mean, it is a serious subject, murder, but episode three was more serious than now because this was done in 1993, sort of a height of the AIDS epidemic.
Uh-huh.
This had the woman who was dying of AIDS.
Yeah.
This as a sort of a witness, uh, giving her side of the story. So that was type a more serious dark. element to this drama. So
Uh-huh.
you had that. You had the drunken wife.
Hmm.
Um, you had the sort of mistress, the Asian mistress,
Yeah.
um, with
And
the twist.
there's a lot of stuff about the Asian culture and everything in this.
Because the guy who was the suspect, the murderer, the murder suspect, was big into his Japanese culture with his samurai swords and stuff like that. And didn't see the twist at the end coming.
And he didn't have doors on his
Yeah,
apartment, his flat. He
yeah,
had the rice paper.
yeah.
Anyway, go on.
So yeah, it was an interesting listen. Um, there's quite a few actors in this. I would say there's a good ooh, going on nearly 20 actors in this. Maybe you're just under. So to fit Robert Carlyle in here in his early days, this was 1993. So yeah, this was roundabout when he was just sort of setting off and becoming a household name.
He was doing Once Upon a Time in the Midlands and Dead Fish and
So it was
uh
his early
yeah,
career. So
there nobody like Jimmy Kimball or whatever.
so yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a good sort of mystery thriller set in the so-called the 90s.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it was a good listen. I didn't bore of it. I didn't tire of it. I listened all the way through in one piece,
Yep.
and yeah, it was a good listen. I'd never heard of P Division before, so there you go. Back to Susan.
Yeah, the story being about this guy who was completely into Japanese and even other Asian nations,
Yeah,
and the attraction there was really interesting. The way that the drunk wife was like, yeah, sometimes you drop me down in a kimono or whatever. So you there it was really cool. Like, and I've been watching a lot of Homicide Hunter, and this is like Homicide Hunter in Glasgow. It's you know this would be considered Glaswegian detective. So it was really interesting, like the people that they questioned and how each episode had sort of like a seed of what the thing was about, and then finding out like the different people who were part of the whole strange situation of it. The fact that that his head was cut off, the fact that uh he was washed and uh put in a new suit that had been dry cleaned.
yeah,
They were like the women were trying to protect the men, that they wouldn't, that none of their uh you know fingerprints or anything else would be on the body or whatever. So like there was all that sort of work, and the doctor telling about how there wasn't any blood that came out. So like that I think that had to do with like the sharpness of the sword, like and
but
then
also as well, he was killed somewhere else. That's why there was no blood there, and also he was cleaned.
right, that's what I meant. Like he was clean and dressed and stuff, and
Killed
but
somewhere
the
else.
But
And actually not dumped. He was laid.
yeah,
Mm. So he just wasn't thrown. He was positioned, and
yeah, and his clothes position next to him. You're right. It's a good word, position. And of course, Robert Carlyle was fun to listen to. I love his voice. I love his natural voice. This is one of the few times that you get to see, other than the train spotting movie and stuff like that, that are all Glaswegian. This one is like his natural vernacular, and so that was fun and good. And I actually, don't I didn't struggle with the accent as much. I have been listening to a lot of audiobooks um on double speed or double and a half speed, and a lot of them read by uh Irish or Scottish folks. I
Mhm.
have to slow them down to about one and a half. Like there's no way I can ever do it faster than about one and a half. But this one I listened to at regular speed, and so it was just nice to hear his voice so much, and like that was really great. And then there was and yeah, the whole connection with the AIDS crisis, that was really interesting. Like they were kind of overreacting, but they you could tell uh they hadn't really taken into consideration the other patients around, that they may have stuff that's like causing, like the one that was coughing all the time. I know
Yeah.
that the pneumocystis, the the pneumonia that comes with all the little pockets of hard cells in the lungs, that's part of the AIDS symptoms, AIDS related stuff, that that can cause people to cough, and that if they cough out blood, like that's the danger, because the
Mhm.
cysts are actually attached to the inner lining of the lungs sometimes. Anyway, all that to be said, it's just so sad. We watched another thing about the AIDS disease, like it was called, oh, what was it called? It was about a group of young people living in a flat.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's a sin.
yes, that exactly. And it's just so emotional. Anyway, um, loved it. What about what are your favorite moments, or things
Uh,
it out,
uh,
or stuff that you didn't quite like?
I, I did like they were having the sneaky fag and discovers the body, and it's I thought that was good. And at the end of the last episode, he's having another sneaky fag, and he
Uh-huh.
discovers the other body. So that's quite humorous. But I think it was episode 2 with Robert Carlyle where he's interviewing the cleaner.
Uh-huh.
Have you seen so and so? No. Have you seen? Uh, do you know when he'll be back? No. Uh, so you haven't seen? No. When was the last time you saw him? Monday. Well, it's Monday today. I know. it's it was just that a bit of humour there. That I thought was great.
Yeah.
And then the overzealous cleaner then says, "Oh, it took me ages to get the blood out of this and all this." And so she's cleaning this room up with blood. What's it's a crime scene, and she's just cleaning the blood off the walls and
Uh-huh.
giving it a second thought, just cleaning, doing a job cleaning. Um, yeah, I do like that, and I did like the. Is it a pathologist who does the
Mm-hmm.
bodies? it is a pathologist, isn't it? Who does the dead bodies? Um,
No, no, that's a medical examiner or a mortician.
right. So what's the one who examined? Well, whatever. The guy who was examining the body.
Dr.
Uh,
Reynolds.
yeah, doctor. He went into all this doing that and saying, "Look, it's." He came up with it's been cleaned. There's no
Uh-huh.
blood. There's this, that, and the other. It's been the head's been hit from behind. This guy wasn't expecting it because there's total shock on the face. It's a clean cut. Um, and I'm thinking, wow, this is how these people work.
Yeah, it's because that sword that they used
Mm.
to lop off his head was sharp. What did they say? It was sharpened to a
Samurai.
razor blade
Yeah.
razor blade sharpness. I was just like, shit.
I just like the way that guy works. But looking at this, that, and the other, and when saying, he's laid here in this perfect suit. There's no blood anywhere, so you can
Yeah.
assume now that he wasn't killed here. Here, he's been washed. Anything? Well, this is how the police work. They have to put all this, like it's like putting a jigsaw together.
Hmm.
Um, which I like to see into that. I mean, I used to love watching things like Quincy and
Hmm.
you know how they I know it was a TV show, but how they Silent Witness as well.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a good four-parter. It didn't
Yeah.
drag, it didn't drag at all.
And I was worried like the first bit of every episode was a little bit of narration, but that's just to get the story started. That's like an opening credit thing. It's not something that I was terribly worried that Lee wouldn't like, but there was a little of that. Like I was a little afraid.
It
But
wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't. It was just like an intro thing, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah, it was just like a credit sequence or something. So it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
All right. Anything other than that you wanted to?
Um, no, it was just. It was a. I mean, the twist at the end, where, where where the Asians chopping up food,
Uh-huh.
cut the copper circle. Where's the other body?
Mhm.
I'm like, oh right, no, so she's seen off the murderer.
It's a little
Yeah,
Sweeney Todd.
yeah, but yeah, I enjoyed it
Final say and score then.
just because, and I won't be the only one here who sometimes, because the Glaswegian accent is quite, sometimes it's quite thick and quick. You do have to sometimes concentrate and listen again, or go back and say, what did they say there? Um, but as soon as you get used to it, um, so just because of that, I'm giving this 8.5 samurai swords out of 10. It's still a good listen.
Yeah. And I will I anything that Robert Carlyle's in is an automatic 10 for me because of how amazing he is. And so, yeah, the enjoyability of this, I'll give it 10 severed heads out of 10. I thought that was a really good, it was a really good like impetus for this whole discussion and how it was culturally diverse and emotionally impactful, like with the AIDS patient and the woman whose husband would only come home to buy her a bottle and put the bottle away so that she would always stay drunk. I mean, like, that was just so interesting. I mean, like, that that was quite a lot of intense sort of stuff. Anyway, all of that to be said, the P division, I didn't know that there were other stories in that series, but this one, the two-way cut was that it'll cut you if it cuts them, and then that's why the murderer died. And anyway, so it didn't do the whole Law and Order bit where they go to a court scene or whatever. So all of that. Join us if you would. If you'd love to listen to stuff like us, join us, get a hold of Lee. By all means, do enjoy our Facebook groups and stuff like that. All in order to influence what we do, you join our Facebook group. In order to do what we do, you join us by talking to Lee. You got to be 18 plus because there's a lot of stuff like murder, like drugs, like sex, like other stuff that's just not for kids, you
And
know?
that's before the casts.
Oh my gosh. And then also you have to have a camera, microphone, device, and Zoom, because Zoom is a good platform that we use. And also you've got to be willing to join us at, like, what is it, 9 p.m.
UK.
Greenwich Mean Time. And so, like, that's the time where we're always doing these podcasts. And then also I'd like to invite you to listen to Audio Who, because that's where this other character, Graham McLaughlin, has some podcasts that talk, that you'll hear his Glaswegian accent. And let's see, uh do try Kenda, Joe Kenda, Homicide Hunter, or Homicide Hunter American Detective. In this case, this is very much Glaswegian Detective. And also, one more shout out. I'd like to shout out the writer Peter Turnbull, because, like, it was really a good story. I mean, it had so many cool twists and turns. And then also, yeah, so if you like what we do, subscribe to our channel. I mean, always subscribe to our channel, and do give us a thumbs up, thumbs down. We don't care. And, like, a comment if you would. Uh, yeah, so that's the way the algorithm hears from us and shows that we're here. And all right, so all of that, and stay tuned in a fortnight. Lee's going to tell me what he wants to do for our next audio heads, and I'm holding my breath. I can't wait to find out what it is.
I don't
Okay,
know.
and yeah, thanks for watching.